3 years into my relationship with my girlfriend, I thought I knew what love was. We'd built a life together, shared a home, dreams, and countless quiet moments that felt like they'd last forever. But one evening, as we sat on a worn-out couch in our living room, she turned to me with a look I couldn't quite read and said something that shattered my world. She wanted to open our relationship. The words hung in the air like a sudden storm cloud, and I felt my chest tighten. Confusion hit first. Why wasn't I enough? Then came fear, a cold, creeping dread of what this might mean for us. Beneath it all was a gnawing sense of inadequacy, a voice whispering that I'd somehow failed her. I didn't know how to respond at first. Part of me wanted to scream, to beg her to take it back. But another part, the part that loved her fiercely, wanted to be supportive. She'd always been honest with me, and I could see this wasn't a whim. It was something she thought about deeply. So, against the storm raging inside me, I agreed to try. I told myself I could handle it, that I could step into this uncharted territory for her sake. But when she started spending time with Jake, a guy she'd met through a mutual friend, I realized I'd underestimated how hard it would be. Seeing her with him was like a punch to the gut every time. She'd come home from their dates, her eyes bright and her laughter lighter than I'd heard in months, and I'd sit there, forcing a smile while jealousy clawed at me. Jake was everything I wasn't, tall, confident, with an easy charm that seemed to draw people in effortlessly. I'd catch myself staring in the mirror, cataloging my flaws. The way my shoulders slumped, the lines creeping across my forehead, the quiet way I carried myself. I'd lie awake at night, imagining them together, wondering what he gave her that I couldn't. The more she lit up around him, the darker my thoughts became. I tried to play by the rules of this new arrangement, to meet other women and find some balance, but I couldn't. Every attempt fell hollow, and I'd retreat back into myself, trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and resentment. Then came the diagnosis that turned my already crumbling world upside down. It was a routine checkup that spiraled into a nightmare. Terminal cancer, the doctor said, his voice steady but his eyes heavy with pity. I sat in the sterile office, staring at the scans on the screen, and felt like the ground had vanished beneath me. The prognosis was vague but grim. Months, maybe a year if I was lucky. I left the clinic in a daze, the weight of it pressing down on me as I drove home. I didn't tell her. How could I? Our relationship was already a tightrope, and I couldn't bear the thought of burdening her with this. I was terrified that if she knew, she'd pull away even more or worse, stay out of pity. So I kept it secret, burying the truth beneath forced smiles and quiet nods. She kept seeing Jake, spending more nights out while I stayed home, alone with my thoughts and the growing ache in my body. Living together made it unbearable. I'd hear her humming in the kitchen, smell her perfume lingering in the air, and feel like a ghost in my own life. I was there physically, but emotionally, I was drifting further away. The isolation was suffocating, and the secrecy only made it worse. I'd sit on the edge of our bed, staring at the empty space beside me, and wonder how we'd gotten here. I tried to talk to her about how I felt, not the cancer, but the jealousy, the hurt. But every time I opened my mouth, the words came out wrong. She'd tense up, her eyes narrowing as if I were attacking her, and we'd end up arguing instead. "I'm not trying to hurt you," she'd say, her voice sharp with frustration. "This isn't about you not being enough." But it felt that way, and I couldn't make her see the pain I was drowning in. I started to feel like my emotions were a burden to her, like I was the one dragging us down. I didn't want to be the reason she stopped smiling. So I swallowed my words and let the distance grow. It wasn't until months later, when the symptoms became impossible to hide, that I broke. I'd been coughing more, a deep, rattling sound that left me breathless, and one night, as we sat in silence at the dinner table, I couldn't hold it together anymore. Tears streamed down my face as I told her everything. The diagnosis, the fear, the ticking clock I'd been living with. Her fork clattered against her plate, and for a moment, she just stared at me, stunned. Then I saw it. A flicker of concern, raw and unguarded, breaking through the wall between us. She reached for my hand, her fingers trembling, and whispered, "Why didn't you tell me?" From that moment, something shifted. She scaled back her time with Jake, started checking in on me more, bringing me tea or sitting with me on the couch even when I didn't ask. It wasn't a grand gesture, but it was enough to feel like a lifeline. For a little while, we reconnected. Not fully, not like before, but in a fragile, tender way that reminded me why I loved her. She'd rest her head on my shoulder, and I'd breathe in the familiar scent of her hair, trying to memorize it. But even then, I couldn't shake the questions. Was this real or just guilt? Would it last? My friends and colleagues stepped up too, offering meals and kind words, but they couldn't reach the depths of what I was feeling. They didn't know the ache of watching her with someone else, or the terror of knowing my time was slipping away. And then there were my kids. Two bright, beautiful souls from a previous relationship. They were my anchor, but also my heaviest responsibility. I'd pick them up on weekends, forcing energy I didn't ever play games or read stories, all while the clock ticked louder in my mind. I wanted to give them memories, to be the dad they deserved, but my body was failing me and the guilt was crushing. As the weeks turned into months, I spent a lot of time thinking about love, about what it meant to hold on, to let go, to fight through the mess of it all. I still loved her, despite everything. I'd watch her move through our home, her present a quiet comfort even on the hardest days, and I'd wonder if that was enough. Could love carry us through this? Through her connection with Jake, through my illness, through the uncertainty of what came next? I didn't have answers, only a longing to make the most of whatever time we had left. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, I asked her to sit with me outside. We wrapped ourselves in a blanket, the cool air brushing against us, and just sat there, watching the world fade into dusk. I didn't say much, and neither did she, but her hand found mine under the fabric, and she squeezed it gently. In that moment, I felt the weight of it all, the pain, the love, the loss still to come. And I realized something. Love isn't just the easy, happy times. It's the willingness to face the storms together, to hold on even when it hurts, even when the ending is uncertain. And as the stars began to peek through the darkening sky, I decided that, for now, that was enough.